want me to record and then send to the Jet Centric account, or does it matter?
No, it's okay because I'm on LTE now. I'm on TELUS, so rock and roll.
Okay.
I actually think it might be a network recording, not a local, so it wouldn't matter. But this way, it's fine.
Move your camera.
What's that?
Move your camera. All I can see is your jersey and your chin.
No, I can see him just fine.
Oh, can you? Okay, don't worry about it then. Oh, there you go. That's good.
Yeah, it centers it on our screens because our aspect ratios are like that by that, and then when it squares it out on this. Anyways, we can just get the show on the road. We need the headset.
Toronto just tied it.
No! God, no!
Please! Okay, you good?
Good.
I was born not ready.
Okay. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Jet Centric podcast. It's Lyss here, and I'm with Chris and Ryan. So we got the whole crew here today. Awesome. So it is currently 8:30, the evening before the Jets play their first game, regular season hockey game since March. So safe to say we're excited. We've had hockey on for the past 4 hours now, and it's been an exciting time to be on the internet and on watching TV. It's been good. So let's talk some Jets. They had the draft in the fall. They were doing nothing else after that. Had some training camp the past couple weeks, and now they're getting ready to drop the puck tomorrow against Calgary. First time seeing them since August, so that'll be good. Yeah, Chris, do you want to start off sort of talking about, maybe we'll just get going on the things that happened leading up to tomorrow's game, training camp, some of the PDOs we signed, some of the offseason chat, all that good stuff?
Yeah, they had not a lot of action, I guess, when you think about it. I guess they brought in Trevor Lewis, is that his name, on the PTO, and ended up signing him, which is apparently he had a really good camp and could be an impactful bottom six player. Put Matt Perreault on waivers, but he cleared, which is nice. Which they said they needed it for cap compliance. And something we could get into later on in the broadcast is, are we going down the same road with Brian Little that we went with Dustin Byfuglien? With the no retirement contract situation here? Because he hasn't been put on long term, and there's no sign. When was that?
Brian Little?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chevy announced today that he's put on LTIR, and that's why they signed Lewis.
Okay.
Why, but they said he's mentioned it in the same sentence.
Okay, I didn't hear that. The last I had heard was that the reason of Perreault was the cap compliance thing. But I guess that's different still, though, with the retirement and all that kind of stuff, right? So
yeah,
I don't want to be super causing some sort of thing that's not there, but that seems really weird to me that he's still on the team, if you will. And then signed Lucas Biza, of course, first day of free agency, had to do that, and Nate Thompson, which here we go again. I would say luckily we lost Biza on the waiver wire yesterday, which is incredible. So those are the usuals. What was a funny incident was the day before training camp started, Chevy had a press conference and mentioned that we might be impressed with some of the PTOs, and he was really excited, and then it happened and it wasn't anything, where Mike Hoffman went to St. Louis and some of these other teams get some of the free agents, right? I just noticed that Tyson Barrie, some of these guys, and we just get nobody and don't try and take a shot. So, but not a super eventful offseason. I know we'll get into it more, but we're basically going to go into this starting tomorrow with almost the exact same lineup as we finished with last year.
Yeah, and we have this whole new concept with the taxi squad, and they announced that opening day roster, and I was kind of taking a look at that, and we got our good friend Logan Stanley on the taxi squad, and you have your Pro and Berdine, Sandberg, and Gus, I think, are on that taxi squad. So who knows what that's going to look like. But training camp has been, I don't know. I personally haven't really been watching. Like they had a scrimmage a couple days ago in the morning. I think that was on Monday or Tuesday. And just some different line combinations. Nelson Nogier playing forward, all this fun stuff. Ryan, do you have any kind of training camp notes or anything notable that people have been talking about or anything that you want to bring up?
Oh man, I really got put on the spot. I haven't. See, this is where I don't exactly know because I don't pay attention to training camp at all. I've just kind of been catching up in the last few days as to kind of what's going on with the team in general. So I can't comment directly on training camp, but I want to go back and talk about Luca Spiza. What's the saying? Addition by subtraction. That the coach is going to somehow look better because of something that was out of his hands. That he's going to be forced to play somebody that's not Luca Spiza. It's kind of funny how that works, how he's getting bailed out, I think. Well,
shout out to Tony again. Tony had a banger of a tweet earlier today. I was talking about how, I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was basically the old guys are going to get hurt and benched young guys are going to come in and play and the Jets are actually going to be good and Paul Maurice is going to get the credit for it even though this wasn't his plan. And like, you know what? Yeah. You're not entirely wrong, my friend. Like it's
Well, that's how it happens, right? With this team, that changes happen because they need to happen and not because someone wants them to happen.
So, I mean, so Tony said it best 4 years ago, right? Injuries are making better lineup choices than Paul Maurice. You know, it's crazy, and I didn't even see. Maybe you guys can fill me in on where Sammy Nico is. He's in the top 9, I'm guessing.
Top 7.
Yeah, he's in
because he was rotating out on the third pairing the other day. Sorry, I did pay attention to camp because I saw he was rotating on that third pairing. I don't know if he's going to be in the opening lineup, but he's on the opening roster, I believe. Lyss, I believe you have that in front of you.
Yeah, I pulled it up. So you have 7 guys. So I don't know who's going to get scratched, but you have DeMello, Pullman, Pionk, Niku, Forbort, Morrissey, and Beaulieu. So he makes the most sense to scratch, I think. If you're going by the way that Paul Maurice rolls based on that lineup, he's probably the scratch. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, based on the coach, yes. Based on... Yeah, I'm not going to get negative.
and I know, well, there's been a ton of talk about the pairings, right? So we might as well talk about that. I mean, first pairing Pullman seems crazy, and DeMello down to the third pair. I just, you know, for me, what I've been struggling with is why the league is changing. We all know that. We don't have to get into that, right? Defensemen, and this is an obvious thing to a lot of us, but not to everybody. A defenseman's job is to retrieve the puck and get it out of the zone. That's what defense is now in 2021, right? It's not hammering guys in the corner and cross-checking them in the back. It's getting the puck out of your end. They can't score if the puck's not in your end. Now, our scouts, our drafting has tried to do that, but the coach or the defensive coach or the strategy, whatever it is, isn't built for that. And it that's where the aggravation comes in when you've got Heinola. I know he's still young, and Niku, and you're signing a guy like Spiza that's the complete opposite. And I know he's not here now, so but the whole thing, it seems to me that a DeMello is more that type of defenseman, and he's demoted, whereas a Tucker Pullman is playing on the top pair. And I just don't understand, as usual, what the strategy is. What are we doing?
I don't know. And I don't remember who it was, one of you two, who had said the thing about Pullman. They're wondering if it's a loyalty thing, why he's getting that top spot during training camp and possibly during opening night. And I don't know, like, at what point is that speculation or is it true? Or like, because yes, he was fine against Calgary. He was one of our better players in that series, but like first pairing in the NHL, I don't know about that.
I usually have a hard time hating on if a player's on the top pairing or the third pairing based on who they're actually good with. Because who's he going to be with on that first pairing, right? Josh Morrissey?
Yeah.
So maybe Josh Morrissey doesn't work well with our second best defenseman overall. Maybe he doesn't work good with our third best defenseman. And you have to think that maybe Tucker Pullman's the sixth best defenseman in the top six, but maybe he works really well with Morrissey, and that's how Morrissey levels himself up to a first pairing defenseman, right? I'm not saying that is the case. I think there's going to be a lot of juggling to start this season. Listen, there was no preseason games. There was a really condensed training camp. It's just weird times right now, so they're going to have to experiment a bit. And maybe the Pullman experiment lasts a period, right? I guess we'll see.
I think what I saw a lot on Twitter was that they had a big PDO, surge of luck at the end of last year, but overall the results aren't great. I agree with you. I think the ideal situation when you have a defensive group is to have three good defensemen and three whatever defensemen and go 1, 2, 3. I think that's a great strategy, right? But at the same time, is he the guy? I'm not sure, but I don't disagree with what you're saying. Maybe the pairs are better, sort of like how a lot of teams do, not our team, but a lot of teams do with the forwards. They do pairs rather than lines, right? Forward and a winger, forward and a winger, forward and a winger, and then add the other winger as the season goes and try and figure out who that is. So that's a distinct possibility, and I think you could be right on what their thought process is.
I've been right once before. It was years ago, but I was right once before.
So then that leaves Samberg and Stanley on the taxi squad, and no Noje, no Enola. I don't know who else is relevant, but what are your thoughts on that?
Ryan?
Sorry. Repeat the question. I'll cut this out. I zoned out.
Sorry. Okay. So that leaves Stanley and Samberg on the taxi squad, and then that means no sign of Enola or Noje or any of those other guys. What are your kind of thoughts on that?
I mean, is there an AHL season this year?
I think it's supposed to start in February or something.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't think when you see that Samberg or some of these other defensemen are getting sent down to the Moose, it's a big deal. I think they're kind of wasted away if they're sitting on the taxi squad. I don't think the taxi squad really gets a look unless there's something like an outbreak on your team, right? That's just for COVID protocol, but I don't know. I don't make anything of those. Well, I do make one thing out of that. I actually tweeted about it the other day, where Marie said something like, I'm trying to stall so I can bring it up. He said something in the same interview he contradicted. Right. He said he reiterates his desire not to keep good young players on the taxi squad if they could play big minutes in the AHL. And then he says that the expectation is that Heinola will start on the taxi squad. Listen, Paul, buddy, Heinola is a good young player. Do not put him on the taxi squad. He's not going to learn being there. Put him down in the Moose where he can actually get some playing time. And then call him up if you need to. I don't know how call-ups are going to work this year, but he just contradicts himself, or he doesn't think Heinola is a good young player.
Listen, you can go down to the Moose and you can win Defenseman of the Year playing big minutes and still never get a chance. So I guess you're still not a good young player. So, yeah, back to your original question, Lyss. The fact that Logan Stanley is one injury away from playing is scary. I guess he's 2 injuries away. If Sammy's on the actual roster. But again, like Ryan says, you get, if and we haven't even talked about it yet. If Nick Ehlers gives somebody else the sniffles, Logan Stanley's playing, and that's a scary thought. This defense is bad enough; it doesn't need any help from Stanley.
Oh my God! Yeah, no, no.
I heard something from someone who was watching training camp, a media member, that this was probably the best they've seen Logan Stanley. Now, I know the bar was set pretty low, so for him to be the best he's ever looked, who knows what that looks like, but I guess that's promising that he's...
It's nice to not hear all bad, I agree.
They've never said anything bad about him, but I know what you're saying, but he's always just been a project. He's 2 years away from being 2 years away. He's so slow that, like I've said it for a couple of years, he looks like a Czechs hockey player, the way he moves and shoots the puck. He just looks like he's swiveling and like everything is stationary. He doesn't have any... it's a disaster. That's great if he looks the best he's looked, but that's scary and especially when you've got guys that can play. Apparently Sandberg's last couple of days in camp, he was one of the better players on the ice and at the scrimmage too. And again, you hate to paint anything with a brush this early, but are we going to have another incident where people sit around again? Maybe he doesn't belong in there yet, but I don't know. I don't want to jump to any conclusions on that. Never mind.
And then anyone who kind of watched that World Junior tournament, that was like lots of people are very, very convinced that Enola could make this roster and should make this roster and play good minutes in the NHL. Like, because he showed, like, from when I was watching, he looked like he was he looked prepared. But again, you don't like rushing defensemen, and we do have, as they are, we do have defensemen lined up, so there's no need to rush him. But that's also a possibility, and some people think that it might be a waste to, well, obviously it would be a waste to put him on the taxi squad, but even to give him a season in the AHL.
Do you think Heinola would be playing if he were 6'4" and 215 pounds?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
He would have played last year. Right.
And then I have a big problem with not what I just said. I have a big problem with 18, 19, 20-year-olds not playing because they're not ready. How come Sidney Crosby was ready at 18? How come Connor McDavid was ready at 18? And not only were they ready, they were the best player in the league. So is it not possible that a 19-year-old could be the third best defenseman on your team? If it's also possible that Connor McDavid was the best player in the world at 19? Like, I don't get it. It's so much politics. It's so just, this is how we've always done it, right? Like, yeah. I don't get it. If you can be the best player in the world at that age, you can be a reliable player at that age. Do you not trust your own coaching? Do you not trust your own systems? Finnish players are smart. Finnish players do the job by the book. Why wouldn't a Finnish player get a chance? And that's generalizing, but there's no disputing that, right? That's what they're known for is how just good at everything they are at the basics. Why wouldn't I don't get it. I think if you can contribute, it doesn't matter how old you are.
And he was even a step up from the basics. Like, he was playing with what's his name? I think he's a Toronto prospect, Niemela or whatever. They played like 30 minutes a game in Finland's last 2 games in the World Juniors, and they weren't like it's a kids tournament. They're young, but he is showing the mannerisms and doing the shutdown role of a actual NHL defenseman. And it's like, okay, maybe he is also playing against guys who are small, and not, your Ryan O'Reilly's in the Central Division, even though we're not playing this year. But like you said, like that guy would easily be a top 6 defenseman on this Winnipeg Jets team, no question. But he's 5'10" and 19 years old. So, or I don't know how tall he is. I made that up, but.
Yeah, and then it goes back to what I was mentioning earlier: is why are we drafting these guys if that's not the strategy we're playing, or the idea of what a defenseman should be?
Yeah, and that makes it look like your coach and your GM are just not on the same page. So
they're not. They haven't been ever. Like
I always say, you don't trade for Peyton Manning and then run the ball every play. Like it's the same thing, right? You coach to your skill.
Not the other way around. Yeah. Okay, well, that's enough of beating the dead horse of the, oh my god, what is this decor? Let's look at some of the forwards that we have on tomorrow's roster. So this is an order of numbers, no lines or anything. I'm just reading off what the Jets posted. You got Kopp, Thompson, Harkins, Lowry, Appleton, Stastny, Wheeler, Ehlers, ? Laine, Scheifele, Connor, and Vesa. So that's what we got to work with. How many guys is that? That is 8, 9, 10. That's 11 guys. What?
No.
That doesn't seem right.
Nico is centering the first line.
12 guys.
COVID
that
hit
is 12
hard.
Guys. It's 12 guys. My bad. So is Ehlers not playing tomorrow? Has that been confirmed?
Marat was tweeting that he could, if he's symptom free and negative tomorrow, he could play tomorrow.
Okay.
So
Gustafson and Perreault, who plays?
Perreault.
Yeah.
You think so?
Isn't Perreault playing? Perreault was in the line rushes yesterday or today, I think.
Oh, okay. That would make sense then.
Yeah. So I think it was, we know the top 6, and then it was Lowry, Kopp, Roslovic. Is that right? No, not Roslovic. That Lowry, Kopp, and why do I never remember his name? Appleton? No.
Well, yeah, okay, it's probably him.
So it won't be Vesalainen.
No, the odd ones out were Vesalainen and oh fuck, we should edit this out. And I can't click off. I can't.
If we're in an edit right now, let's just actually look it up.
I was gonna say I have no idea what's going on. Like there are 12 guys on this list.
No, there's more than 12.
Tomorrow?
22 minutes.
There should be 14.
1, 2, 3.
Vesa and Harkins are the extras. The fourth is Thompson, Lewis, Perreault.
Oh, why isn't Lewis on here?
Because he wasn't signed yet, I bet.
Yeah, he didn't get signed till this afternoon.
Oh, okay. Well, but that's only one. That puts 13 guys on here.
Yeah, Harkins and Vesalainen are extra.
Okay.
So I believe the third line is Lowry, Kopp, Appleton. The fourth line is Thompson, Perreault, and Lewis.
Okay.
I think it's Appleton. Can you check?
I can't find anything like
Mike
McIntyre.
It's so clunky.
I'm gonna look up what.
That isn't so clunky. I haven't paid attention to shit until like 2 days ago.
Yeah, I'm just basically going off what Tony tweets. Toronto just won in overtime.
Ugh.
Overtime winner, Morgan Riley.
So there'll be 13 forwards, right?
That would make 13 forwards, and then Perreault would be 14 if you move him from the taxi squad. Okay, I found the lines from yesterday.
Okay.
Okay, let's let's pick it up. I'll edit it together.
So do it from talk about the forwards, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Because all of that was all a bunch of bullshit.
It was, yeah. Okay, so let's move into forwards now and take a look at so when the Jets tweeted their opening day roster, there are 12 guys on the list. Since then we've signed Lewis, which makes 13, and then Perreault was in the line rushes, which makes it 14. And that would put Harkins and Vesalainen as your two extras. So Murat had tweeted out the lines in yesterday's scrimmage. So that was Ehlers, Shifley, Wheeler, Connor, Stastny, Laine, Kopp, Lowry, Appleton. And then he had mentioned that Kopp and Lowry did do a little bit of a flip-flop, and Kopp is playing center and Lowry is playing left wing. And then Perreault, Thompson, Lewis. And yeah, so it says Gus and Bessa and Harkins were the extra forwards. And then one of my friends, Brady, guests on the podcast every now and then, he texted when we found out about Ehlers, and he's like, oh my god, now that Ehlers is out, we're probably going to have Connor, Shifley, Wheeler, and they'll play together for the rest of the
But, what? If we have Connor, Shifley, Wheeler, whatever, as long as Laine gets Stastny, then we're all good, right? Isn't that what he wants? He just wants to be with Stastny again?
Something like that.
Is it? Or does he want to be with Shifley?
I think he wants to be with somebody.
I think he wants to not be with Brian Little or Cody Eakin.
Yes.
Well, I think that's fair. Yeah.
But that whole Shifley and Laine thing, I feel like that's such a played out, speculative art. Like, you have to think they just don't work at this point, because otherwise it only makes sense for them to play together. But now with Stastny, hopefully it'll work out with them. But I don't know if having both Connor and Laine on the same line might be a bit of a defensive drag, but we'll see.
That's not. What are the chances that lasts more than like 2 or 3 games? Like, I just don't see it. Everything let's all take a big dump on the coach again, but everything he says is just bullshit. Do you remember in the playoffs, those are air quotes, last year when he said, Hark's going to play a long time in this league? Now he does not even playing already. First game, he can't crack the lineup after he was the best Jet against Calgary.
After Nate Thompson makes the cut.
Right. Like, it's just all like Ryan already pointed out an actual example of him just lying. You've got Thompson playing, who should probably, again, it's the same as the Matt Hendricks thing, probably shouldn't even be in the league. You guys see his penalty killing. He's on the second penalty killing unit, and he's literally like the worst penalty killer in the NHL, just like we used to do with Mark Stewart. Like, I just don't understand. You could have, like we've talked about, you could have 3 scoring lines. Philadelphia did what we talked about in the playoffs. They did it now permanently, it looks like, where they've got their 3 best players on 3 separate lines. I just don't understand what they're trying to achieve. They're going to run on this condensed schedule. They're going to run the top 2 lines into the ground. They're going to flip-flop Connor back to the first line, I'm sure of it. Which, whatever. But I just want to see something different. Like, we weren't good last year. Why are we have essentially the same roster? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's very true. Like, and again, what was it? This is like the 8th season or something like that. Like, and we've won like 3 playoffs or 2 I don't even know. Like, and it's frustrating because, yeah, like you said, like that, we know what's going to happen. We can predict very, very surely and in good confidence what's likely going to happen, even though it doesn't win games or playoff series or divisions or anything like that. So,
Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, it's been 8 seasons. We've made the playoffs 3 times, swept the first time, had a pretty good run the second time. and then lose to St. Louis in the first round. I don't know. I don't have much to say on how the forwards are being utilized because it's the same thing over and over.
In my interview with Marat, just talking about how Maurice said that, I can't remember what the exact quote was, but basically that there's a deeper systematic problem with the forwards than there is with the defense. And then Marat said, and I fundamentally agree. And I do too, like, again, with the defense thing as we look at it. And our big problem is the personnel. And, like, yeah, we don't love the whole, like, so there's some of the structure that, like, we're not huge on with the old-fashioned box and whatnot. But the forwards, it seems like nothing works. And lots of teams, I think, like when I listen to people who are not Jets fans talk about the Jets, they're like, yeah, their defense sucks and they have a great goaltender and so much star forward potential. But it's like, but if we have so much star forward potential, why aren't they, like, yes, they score, but if that's our big guns, like that's our card that we play, I don't know how good and how accurate that actually is, you know?
Well, it really hasn't been that way recently, it seems. Like, the Jets aren't going out there and blowing teams out of the water. Like, Ehlers, Laine, Scheifele, Connor, whoever, aren't putting up massive numbers. Sure, we have a couple of good players who are putting up decent numbers, but we're not getting lines that are actually adhering and acting like a line and working together and being an offensive powerhouse. And what a lot of people are saying, well, now we got Stastny back. Remember the year the Jets went far and they were a powerhouse and they did great in the playoffs? Well, they had Paul Stastny. Well, listen, Paul Stastny's 2.5 years older now, right? Mm-hmm. What, 3 years coming up?
Yep.
Well, and when you're in your mid to late 30s, things start to go downhill from there. That I don't know. I think there's a lot of people that are saying, well, this is the year they become offensive powerhouses again. Let's look at all the big numbers they're going to put up because they have a second line center. Well, he's old and slow and slowing down just like Blake Wheeler. So if anything, I think we remain the same.
It's a tough place to hang all your hopes and dreams on a 35-year-old second line center, right? Maybe he's not 35, but I think he's pretty close.
I think he's like 36 or something. Like, I think maybe he's not that old, but
I've looked
hey, Google,
100 times.
How old is Paul Stastny?
35.
35.
So,
okay.
Where was I at here? My biggest frustration is with all of this offensive talent that we have is for the do you watch the game guys? How often do you watch a Jets game where they maintain any sort of pressure in the offensive zone? Scheifele and Wheeler are hammered in their own zone the whole game. The whole time they play in their own zone. The only time they score is on the power play or in a transition. They dump and chase. It's all of it just doesn't seem to make sense. Kopp and Lowry, other than the playoffs, can't score. So you're running this third line that you should be getting support from. They can't score. You play your fourth line 3 minutes a game. And then your top line gets outplayed like all of the time. They're getting outplayed. They score lots of points, yes, at the end of the year, but they're not helping you. Same goes with Connor. As much as we love him for scoring 30 goals, 40 goals, this and that. At the end of the season, you're not coming out ahead because he's costing you on D. And again, you're talking less about the systems. What is the system? Because like I said, you don't even get to see it. They're stuck in their own zone the whole game. And then they're running around like chickens with their heads cut off because of their stupid defensive system. I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast, but I was watching Oilers Flyers game on the Classic channel from the finals in 1986 or something. And they're playing the same defense that the Oilers were playing in 1987. And I'm not joking. It's exactly the same. It looked the same, all of it. And guess who played on that team? Charlie Huddy. You know what I mean? And it's not, I'm not joking. It's not funny. It's the same shit. And so you're just in your own zone the whole damn game. And then it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Where's Heinola? Where's Nico to get the puck out? Where's Ehlers? More players like Ehlers to carry the puck over the blue line. Mm-hmm. Where is this? With all of these players, how are we not really good? We missed the playoffs last year with the Vezina winning goalie.
Well, and then you have a puck carrier on your team who is considered to be elite in the entire NHL, and he is the only man on your top six who can actually do that in a competent way. Like you were saying about how Scheifele and Wheeler only score on transitions or on the power play. It's because they don't carry the puck out of the zone or into the zone as well as a top scoring line should. So, and also every time I see that 10-year patch on the Jets jersey, it's 10 years of the Jets back in Winnipeg, but also 10 years of Charlie Huddy doing our defensive coaching. So there's that.
I can't believe that any coach in any league has a job for 10 years, especially when you've had like the worst defense for 8 of those 10 years.
Was it you that tweeted today that even Stanley Cup winning coaches don't last this long?
Yeah.
Joel Quenneville got fired like 2 years after he won 3 Stanley Cups in 5 years.
Dan Bylsma? Right? Dan Bylsma in Pittsburgh? He was gone shortly after they won, right?
Yeah. And you don't even get it if you won a cup in the past. You know what I mean? Like if you won a cup 8 years ago and you're on your next team, you don't get this kind of grace period. And a lot of the people we follow, or a lot of people that follow podcasts or that we talk to on Twitter will say, well, who would you hire then? That's always their comeback, right? Well, who would you hire then? It's not about that. It's about what's working right now. You figure out who you hire. Maybe it's a guy in college that knows how to play with, 9 really good forwards like we have, or whatever it is. But 8 years is ludicrous. 10 years of Charlie Huddy and the goalie coach is ludicrous. It's actually insane. You get 2 years in the NFL, 2 years, 32 games. If you don't turn it around, everybody's gone. And we're on 8 with 2 series wins. I don't know. Well, it's a tough time.
You have Mike Babcock, who was considered to be one of, if not the best coach in the NHL at that point in time, whatever. And he had this Toronto roster that, dare I say, looks a little bit like ours. Like, you don't have the big gritty guys who play the way that Paul Maurice and Mike Babcock want to organize their team. And guess what? It doesn't work. You're out of there. And you bring in someone who's willing to do that. Like, makes sense to me. I don't know.
All of these people that defend Paul Maurice on Twitter and in the newspaper and all that, how many, and I say this quite often, how many other rosters would you prefer than ours? That's my big thing. We've got a fantastic roster overall. Again, defense, comes and goes, whatever. But like, if you're okay with this amount of talent and you're a big Chevy fan, oh, he drafts so good and blah, 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 blah. You have all of this, but yet these are the results we're getting. What's the disconnect? Are you saying the players are bad? So you can't like Chevy and Maurice at this point. That's an impossibility.
Yeah, like every team has their shit, right? Like it's always like people like, oh, adversity with like different things. Like every team has bad players. Every team has problems like
traveling.
Yeah. Like it's not like you said, like how many rosters would you rather have? Like no other team in the NHL has a Kyle Connor and Patrick Laine combination. No other team. Like, but
yep. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I look at a team like Vancouver. We have 10 times the talent Vancouver has. 10 times, and they were better than us.
But they have Tyler Myers.
That's true.
Yeah, Logan Stanley. It's
anyway
at this point. Yeah.
The Leaf Eater.
But you know what? It's been many months, and we have to air our grievances because that's what we do. But I think we've done an okay job of also bringing up, yes, there are a lot of good things on this team to be excited about. And, like, yeah, like, Stastny is old, but it's going to be so cool to have him back. And, like, it's going to be fun to watch them play hockey again because they're a fun hockey club to watch. But, like, it
They
is
have the potential to be. They have the potential to be fun to watch.
This is the problem with the Winnipeg Jets, and why I keep wearing the jerseys, why I keep buying the hats, why I keep going to the games, is because I know they have potential to be the best fucking team in the league, and I really enjoy following along. But goddamn it, is it frustrating to see them fail year after year.
That's
with no change.
That's why I'm on this podcast, not because I'm a fake fan, because I'm a real fan that gives a shit whether they win or lose.
Yeah, no, and like you said, like, teams do suck. Like, it happens, and then you change things. You change your personnel. You change your coaching staff. You change your GM. You change something, because if it's not working, like,
if you're a shitty team, you've got shitty players, and you finish shitty, great. That's how it goes.
But don't expectations.
That's right. But don't come at us 4 years ago with 2019 Stanley Cup champions and we have the best young roster in the league and and then just shit the bed. Let's see some fucking results. This is where we're at now. And here's the other thing we haven't talked about yet. If Connor Hellebuyck slips back to normal this year, there's going to be a real problem.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a thing too. Yeah. Where
if he plays average hockey,
even if he plays above average, we're kind of screwed. I mean, he was stand on his head for every night last year, and they didn't make the playoffs. They made the whatever you call that, play-ins.
24 in the league. Ooh, but yeah, one of those teams, one of those 7 that did was Detroit, and one of them was Ottawa. You should be beating those teams.
So yeah, I agree that even if he's not average, even if he's above average, but he's not Vezina Buck, then you're not even close to the playoffs, man. Now, I should also say that, hey, this is a pre-season preview show. Like, we're going into the season tomorrow. We haven't seen them play a game yet. Maybe they come out and start blowing teams out of the water. Hellebuyck standing on his head. Bort or whatever his fucking name is the best defenseman in the league. Who knows? I'm going to be positive about it. I'm going to go into it thinking, all right, let's go new year. Let's start fresh. Let's just win some hockey games. So yeah, maybe we're just pissed off about years previous, but I think that's because we just don't see changes in the training camp that say, okay, they're going to make a leap this year where things are actually looking like the puzzle pieces are being put in the right spot. So yes, let's remember that the season hasn't even started. It's
tough. It's tough to be that way. And I feel bad about being negative. And it's a funny analogy maybe. But even the Blue Bombers, they won the Grey Cup last year. And I know it's not a football podcast, but all they've been doing is re-signing their same team. That's not good enough. You need to get better. If you're staying the same, you're not getting better, right? And that goes in pretty much anything in life. And that's where the struggle is. How much did they improve with who they signed, who they brought in, and who left? I don't think marginally maybe they're a better team on paper. So what tells us, what gives us hope that they're going to be so much better? I'd love them to be like Ryan said, I'm in the same position. I'd love them to be. This is why we're here. I want them to be good. I want to feel a Stanley Cup and all of it, but it's tough to picture that they're going to be so much better. And then you look at some of the other teams in the Canadian division. Where do we see them finishing? Like, I think it's pretty much consensus. Toronto's going to be first. I agree with that. Montreal, you do?
Yeah, no, Toronto. I have no faith in Toronto. I never have, and maybe it's a bias. I do not think that they're top of the division at the end of the year. In 56 games, no.
Who's better than them?
I don't know. But but back to what before, like, I want to just jump on this last thing, whatever. I think the team is as good as Scheifele is if Scheifele is able to play as good as, like, if he's the Mark Scheifele that we know he could be, I feel like the team is better. When Scheifele plays like crap for a whole season, the team sucks. Like, I'm very, very convinced that that's there's a strong correlation there. Very convinced.
That's a fair thing. I think you're as good as your best players for sure, right? And they were the best when he played a 200-foot game and was a good, like, a top player. He hasn't been that for the last, 2 seasons, we'll say. So I don't disagree with that.
But yeah, no, with this whole division, like, it's so, I feel like I say that Toronto's not going to fit. It's probably just because I hate them, but also, like, I really think it's anyone's game. Like, yes, Ottawa is a bit of a lost cause. I genuinely believe that, but I feel like any team could come together, band of misfits, whatever, that kind of fun story, and win this division. I genuinely do, because I don't think it's guaranteed to anyone at this point.
That's fair. So would you say, like, for me, I think it goes Toronto, Montreal, Edmonton as the top 3, and then obviously Winnipeg, Calgary, and Vancouver in that next group, right? So it's almost impossible to predict that. That's kind of like I've always said, you can't say a series is gonna go to game 7 and who's gonna win.
Yeah.
You're basically predicting one team to win one game. It's sort of the same thing when you're talking about those. So, but yeah. I mean, I think you're right though, Lyss. I think, for example, the Jets could finish 2nd, or they could finish 6th.
Right, yeah.
Depending on how they fall, right?
I think the Winnipeg and Vancouver, those are my 2. I feel like they are going to be, like, surprises. Like, people are kind of thrown in the middle of the pack. I think both of them are either going to absolutely tank or they're going to soar. That's because I feel like they're just unpredictable.
Well, I think Calgary is your possible number 3 as well, though. Like, look, they got Markstrom in that now. They've been looking for a starting goaltender since Mika Kiprusoff.
Yeah.
And now they have that. So Calgary is a good young team that I think could really surprise. But yeah, I agree that when you say it's probably going to be Edmonton, Toronto, Montreal in your top 3, well, then you have that next 3 that we were just talking about, Vancouver, Calgary, Winnipeg, fighting for one spot. So it's tough. Montreal's a throw up. A throw up. Yeah, a toss up.
I agree. Yeah.
But because Montreal is, I mean, they got in through the play-ins last year. They weren't going to make the playoffs. They sold at the trade deadline. They got stronger through free agency, and of course they have Carey Price, who has regressed, but it's Carey Price.
Yeah. He just looks like he can stop the puck.
Carey Price is still a top 15 goalie in the
league. I saw that.
Oh, that's the best.
But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to tell until I mean, when is it? It's usually American Thanksgiving that you can tell where a team's at. What's going to be the equivalent this year?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Valentine's.
Yeah, a month into the season will be Valentine's Day. So, we'll see where they're at then, and
yeah, I agree. It's hard to make any sort of real prognostication other than on paper, right? And how many people draft their fantasy team and are like, "Oh, this is the best team," and finish 9th in their league. So it's hard to say for sure right now.
I mean, if you want someone else's opinion, that's not just 3 fans sitting in their basements, then go listen to the Marat episode. We're saying what we see from a fan perspective, but Marat's going to break down where he thinks everything's going to slot in player-wise and team-wise.
No, it's true. Yeah, no, and yeah, like, obviously this is our whole thing, is that it's a fan podcast run by fans for fans kind of thing. Like, we're not pretending that we're experts in any way, but it's like kind of just this is what we're observing and this is what we're feeling, and if there's a consensus of what the 3 of us are feeling, it's very likely that other people are feeling it too. So
let me tell you, We're not experts. We're just here talking about the Florida Panthers day in and day out.
That's right.
Oh, is this the wrong podcast?
Oh shit.
Yeah. Hey,
Do we have those couple Twitter questions?
Yeah, I was just pulling them up right now, actually. Yeah. So, and while I'm getting those pulled up, so John Tortorella today announced that Pierre-Luc Dubois is legitimate. That's legitimate. He wants a trade. At what point do you say, screw it, Dubois for Laine? Let's go.
Yeah, just do it. Get it over with. I don't disagree. I don't want him to leave, but why not?
I believe that's going to be one of the questions that come up from Twitter. Yeah, it's the Twitter thread where I fired you from the podcast.
Was that if you were on the podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I met with the board of governors and we voted to part ways.
Is this how I find out? All right.
live on the podcast. You're fired.
Yeah.
I wish you would have brought Donald Trump in here to do that for you, but
break him out of jail.
Okay, so we did touch on the Morrissey Pullman thing, but thoughts on the power play units and what an ideal bottom six would look like. I think that's a good question because, like, when I was watching the World Juniors, it made me realize that, like, when you have your 12 forwards in the World Juniors, you have 12 guys who are potentially going to be first liners in the NHL. And your third line is not supposed to, or your fourth line is not supposed to be guys who are going to score 40 goals a year and are like your snipers and whatever. Like, and I just thought it was interesting. I had a team of the same guys, almost like 12 guys who were very similar. So what would the ideal bottom six look like? I think that's a very good question. Because we sort of talked about the bottom six we have right now. So
for me, last time we were on, Lyss, I said it's not really fun to do this stuff because of the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's really not. Because like my bottom six includes Blake Wheeler. But
Paul Maurice laughs in your face.
Paul, right, exactly. So for me, with this coach, I think it's right, other than I would probably take out Thompson and maybe put Perreault at fourth line center and put Harkins in. Yeah. I know Perreault hasn't played center a lot in Winnipeg, so maybe there's some tinkering there. Again, my bottom six includes Adam Lowry as our fourth line center. It always has, not because I don't think he's not a third line center. He is, but if you're going to win the Stanley Cup,
he's a great fourth line center.
He's like he's the best fourth line center in the NHL, right? But that's never going to be a thing either. So you have two different ways of looking at it. With the roster and this coach, I would say take Thompson out and put Harkins in, and it looks as good as it can look using Maurice's structure.
Well, and that's the thing. We'll go back to the structure thing because, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Jets right now are playing the center plays the defensive role. It's not first forward back. It's the center who always plays in that spot, right? So if you were playing in a way that it was first forward back, it wouldn't even matter if Pro was playing center or not. Like, that's right. He has experience playing it. Who cares? First guy back, just do that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that's valid. And like you said, yeah, like Blake Wheeler, like it makes sense, I feel like, to have him in your bottom six on a really good team. Like, that's a good team if you have Blake Wheeler as your third line right winger. Like, sure.
Well, I mean, your third line could be, and I'm just spitballing here, and again, I know he's not around, but your third line could be, Kopp, Wheeler, Roslovic.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever, something like that. And there's nothing. That's a top six. That's not a third line that's not to be messed with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's all spitballing, and that's just off the top of my head or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, again, like the Philly thing, having Giroux on the third line, and some of the stuff Pittsburgh's done in the past. Yeah, that's to me the way to go when you have so much talent and you can't get guys ice time.
Yeah.
If you get good players ice time, Why aren't you spreading out the minutes? And you could do so much. And how much harder does it make you to play against if your third line and your fourth line are stacked? It makes you so much harder to play against than what this is. You don't even have to account for the fourth line when you're playing the Jets.
Yeah.
They might as well not be there. They take 3 shifts period, maybe.
At most, yeah. No, that's true. Ryan, do you have a top 6 or bottom 6, sorry, that...
No, I'm going to agree with everything Chris said there. We're on the same page for bottom 6. I mean, yeah, when you talk about putting Blake Wheeler on the third line and Adam Lowry on the fourth line, I mean, yeah, I had something to say in my head and I forgot how I was going to phrase it, so I'm just going to pretend I didn't have anything in my head and send it back over to you.
All right. So, and then someone did bring up the whole idea of having Brossoit have a good season, and I think that that's super valid when you have such a condensed schedule. Like, you need to have a strong goalie tangent. I think it's almost like a necessity if you want to finish in a playoff position in your division, is you need to have a backup goalie that can play if your top goalie gets hurt or if he starts sucking, or with the nature of the schedule or a lot of back-to-backs. Like, any thoughts on that?
Brian, you're more of a goalie whisperer.
I mean, Brossoit's come into his third season, and I haven't had a moment where I thought, why is this guy our backup goalie? When he's come in, he's been strong. He's not going to take a ton of time from Hellebuyck. I mean, it's not that condensed of a schedule. I mean, it is a bit, but they also shortened it to 50 odd games or whatever it is, right? 60. I don't know.
56, I think.
Yeah, so it's in a shorter amount of time. It's a shorter amount of games. They're going to ride Hellebuyck again, and maybe on some back-to-backs they put Brossoit in. But he's been a good option for the Jets the last couple of years. I mean, last year wasn't as great as his first year here, but hey, I mean, he's a pretty good option. When you look at what this team had in its first few seasons as a tandem, you really appreciate the Hellebuyck-Brossoit 1-2 combo here.
You want your Chris Mason, Steve Mason, Al Montoya, the whole, with Andre Pavlik as your starter. That's not the tandem that you want. So
let's not forget, when we talk about how much about Brossoit playing, let's not forget that Paul Maurice played Artur Zerbe, I think, 76 games in an 82 game schedule. So it's possible that he doesn't even play this year. So
this is true. Artur Zerbe, I forgot about that guy. Man, he had funky white pads, eh? When those things at the end of a game, they look like they weighed 120 pounds each because they were just soaked with water.
And the Yofa helmet. Oh man, I have an Artur Zerbe jersey actually.
Legend.
Yeah.
Artur Zerbe, I think his jersey was wider than it was tall.
I think you're right.
I'm not saying he was a fat man. He was a short, little stocky goalie, I think.
Yeah, he was like the last short goalie other than Tim Thomas, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I was dead then. So, okay, and then maybe I'll just bring up this last point, the Kishore point that got us thinking. This is, and I quote, he says, "Given what's happening with Laine and Roslovic and many of the misses on D options this offseason, a spotlight on Chevy. What does he need to do during the season?" Ryan, I want you to start off this one because I know you've been thinking about it.
I'm not going to lie. I've been looking up Artur Zerbe's stats. I didn't hear a word he just said. He was 5'7". No,
holy
he's 5'8".
I was going to say, I thought he was 5'8". That was my guess.
I'm not meant to podcast because I'm looking at Artur Zerbe stats. 190 pounds, 5'8".
Yeah. How many games did he play that year?
75, 77.
Oh my God.
He played 75, and then the next year was 77.
Oh,
He played 152
that's
games out of 164 possible.
That's
I
incredible.
don't know if that math even made sense, but I said it.
Oh, man.
Anyways, go back. Is it the question about the thing where I commented?
Yeah.
Okay. I will say this. Jack Roslovic, I think he's overrated. Do I think he's a bad hockey player? No. Do I want him not on the Winnipeg Jets? No. Do I think he's a superstar that we need to hold on to and get a big haul for? No. You can sign guys like Jack Roslovic in free agency. You can easily trade for these guys. Is he young and does he still have potential to grow more? Sure. But I don't think that he's worth holding on to and losing for nothing, which I don't really think that's an option right now. But I think you do move him. As for Laine, hold on to him. You still control him. Surround him by good players. This year he has Paul Stastny or I was going to say Mark Wheeler, Mark Scheifele as his center options. That might keep him happy for a year, and then say Cole Perfetti comes in, and now that's a setup guy, right? You got to keep him happy by giving him a good center. I think you just try to ride this one out. But the question was, I believe the question was, if you have to move them for D help, do you do it?
No,
sure.
I think the question was more like basically what moves need to be made this season, specifically. Like,
okay. So yeah, actually I have it here. It says what's happening with Laine Roslovic and many of the misses on D options this offseason. The spotlight. Yeah. I think you can't really comment on that stuff right now. No one's going to make a trade. You can't make moves right now, right? No one's going to want, if we go back to Jack Roslovic, no one's going to want him right now. Teams just submitted their rosters. They just had their training camps. They're looking at their young players. They decided their AHL and their taxi squad. No one's saying, I need to trade for a Jack Roslovic right now. That's what we need after one game this season. I think it's something that you talk about in the off season or closer to the trade deadline. But during the season, I don't know. Again, I'm going to talk about Laine. If there's an option that you're going to get a massive haul, then do it. But I think you have to hold on to him otherwise. You don't say, well, he could leave, so we'll take this prospect and this player and hope that's all right. No, you wait for a big haul. You wait for a prospect, a draft pick, a top 6 forward, or a top pairing defenseman. That's what you wait for. I don't know if I answered the question. That's just what I had going on in my mind when I saw the question 2 nights ago.
Well, I think a point that I've said before and I want to reiterate is when it comes to the Laine thing is you don't trade a Looney for 3 quarters. Like there's nothing drives me more crazy when people are like, oh, we want Patrick Laine on our team. They're like a freaking I don't know, Carolina fan. And they're like, oh, you can have this second pairing defenseman, a first rounder, and one of our press box guys. It's like, huh? No. Yeah, it's got to be some sort of thing if we get rid of him at all, kind of thing. But anyways, Chris.
Yeah, the track record, right? Nothing's going to happen during the season, so we don't even really need to talk about it. If they fall apart, they're going to have excuses because that's what they do, and if they have a half decent season, that's going to be good enough because that's what this organization does.
Based off of adversity, it's been a challenge. So
the first year was their first year. The second year they were in the wrong division. The third year they changed divisions. The fourth year they had a coaching change. The fifth year they had the strike. The sixth year they had injuries. The seventh year they had a bad travel schedule. There's been an excuse every damn year, and I'm not even joking. But so that doesn't matter. We could talk more about the Laine and Roslovic thing. I agree with Ryan 100%. And there's probably 75 Jack Roslovics in the NHL. So great. You do whatever you got to do. Get something for him, make him happy, make your team better or as good, whatever. And just as a point, if anybody's still listening, that was always my thing when it came down to the who's better Connor Laine thing. There's no other player in the NHL like Patrick Laine. There's about 17 or 18 other Kyle Connors. So that's why Laine's the one you keep out of the two. That being said, I agree with what we were talking about before we started recording. I would seriously do what you said, Lyss. I would trade him straight up for Dubois. Honestly, maybe that's not great value. Maybe somebody adds whatever. But point being, we saw what happens when you try and piecemeal something. You never win a trade when you trade the best player. Trade 1-for-1. Take a chance, right? You got 2 really good centers for the next 12 years if you want, in Scheifele and Dubois and Perfetti now. I mean, try it. You've got enough wingers. You're the best in the NHL at drafting and developing, so you should have no problem replacing somebody like that. Again, to the actual question, Chevy's not going to do anything, so it doesn't matter what we want him to do.
Well, and even if he wanted to, we've talked about this so many times too. It's just you wonder how much control he actually has as a GM and relative to other GMs in the league, and you wonder. But that whole Dubois thing, I'm very invested in that because I'm very convinced that both of their market values are just going to drop based on when a player wants out, you know that a team's hands are tied when it comes to them, so you might not get as much back for them as they might be worth. So you do the 1-for-1. All of a sudden you have Scheifele and Dubois down the middle. Dubois might end up taking him over for that first center position. I don't care. Cole Perfetti played left wing or something. Yeah, he played left wing in the World Juniors, and he was good at it. Yes, people see him as a center, and they're like, yes, we want a center on this team. He's a good left wing too.
You don't need him to play center if you have Dubois and Scheifele.
No.
Yeah. Right. And so he replaces Laine theoretically.
He's extremely versatile. He's very sorry, my brother just started playing piano. He could play on the wing, and then you have, because right now we have Connor and Laine and Wheeler, who aren't, they're good at what they do, but they're not that, like you said, 200-foot player who the defensive, the zone entry, blah, 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 whatever. Cole Perfetti can do all that. So it's you don't necessarily need to have that guy as your center. Having him on the, freaking Mark Stone up in here, looks good to me. So
good point.
I'm also very interested in Pierre-Luc Dubois as an individual as well. So I'm very partisan to that deal. But, yeah.
Well, next question.
Yeah.
I think that kind of covers everything. The power play was brought up on Twitter, but I don't even know what the units look like, to be honest. I don't remember what they looked like in training camp. Again, like we said, beating the dead horse over and over again. It's going to look the same as it always has. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Apparently, they have Neil Pionk snailing passes over to Laine again.
Oh, my.
So, again, because it worked so good last year, you're going to keep doing it?
We should have a top 5 power play in the league. We should.
You have... How... I can't even... How can you not... I tweeted this about 4 years ago. Well, I tweeted it 3 games into Patrick Laine's rookie season, I think. Watch the Washington Capitals power play and do exactly what they do. It's not that hard. How can Ovechkin 19 years later still be scoring fucking 30 power play goals a year?
Yeah, no, and you know what, to be fair, they do have their John Carlson, which is, we don't have that. But going back to the Murat episode again, because that was a great episode, he was talking about how when you had Byfuglien on the point, he was more of a threat. Therefore, the defensive four players on the other team are a little bit more threatened by him. And he was comparing it to the gravity score in basketball, where if he has the puck, people are willing to cheat out more because they want to block that shot. Neil Pionk, not a threat. No one cares. So that tightens your lane with your Wheeler, Scheifele, and Laine. Worse passes, no good shots are coming off, garbage power play. Like,
but I agree with that 100%. And it just seems so simple to me when in the first year, if I'm not mistaken, in Laine's first year, Scheifele scored a shit ton of power play goals in the slot because that option would get taken away. Then Wheeler would go down low to whoever was playing beside the net. At that point, I don't remember. And he would just put it out front and Scheifele would rip from the middle. So you need that second or third option, and I just don't see it. And again, Pionk's pass, whatever it is terrible, combined with the fact that he can't hit the net when he shoots. I don't know. Again, what do they see that we don't see?
But in the defense, to play the devil's advocate here, what do we have that's any better? Because none of our guys are that power play quarterback that you see in a Dustin Byfuglien. And again, we are a little bit blinded by how good he was at that. And it's hard to replace that. But no, Neil Pionk is not the answer. And I bet you most of the other guys on the team would be a better option. But there's no easy fix unless you play a 5-forward power play or something, because you don't have anyone on the defense.
And the problem with playing 5 forwards would be like no one would be able to get back. But you still don't have a forward who would play that point the way Byfuglien would, or like we said, John Carlson when you have Ovechkin. Like, we don't have that. But sure, fair enough. Washington has had like 4 different power quarterbacks since Ovechkin in the league, right? Anyway, I again, you're right. It's not an easy thing, and it's not like I'm sitting here going, Neil Pionk should be replacing Byfuglien, but you have to find a way to get Laine the puck. That's just what it comes down to. Maybe you need to change everything. Like I know last year a lot of guys were talking about having the 2 people behind the net power play, right? The 2 people behind the goal line in the corners.
That was Ryan's thing with I think that's what the Habs do, right? They do the 2 guys behind the net.
Yes.
Right. So why aren't we trying something? He should be scoring 25 goals. Is that on the power play? Like, I don't know what the best score on the power play in a season, but 20? Like, I don't know. You got to find a way to get him the puck, basically, is what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, and then like you said, when Scheifele had all the goals, it was because people knew that Laine was that Alex Ovechkin-esque threat. So they would cheat towards him, and all of a sudden you have your guy in the slot, and when he's sharp, he's sharp. Again, Scheifele isn't the same as he was. He hasn't had that same danger, whatever, but the power play sucks. And yeah. Anyway. But I feel like that's kind of it from Twitter. That was kind of the gist of the questions.
Excellent. Well, tomorrow's the day. What time do they play?
I don't even know.
I think it was 7. That's what I was told.
7 o'clock on TSN 3 in Sportsnet West.
I didn't even know who they play tomorrow until this afternoon.
I mean, you had 6 guesses, so you would have gotten it eventually. So
to be fair, I don't ever look at the schedule or the standings, but that's pretty sauce.
It'll be fun to see Calgary. I feel like Calgary is going to be, again, maybe a bit of a wild card too. Like, they could be really good. They could really give us a run for our money tomorrow, or we could suck. They could suck. Who knows? So
I'm really excited for the season. I'm just going to say it.
It was so nice to see Twitter all on one page today. Like, Nolan Patrick scored a goal, and it was a very wholesome place to be on the internet. Like, hockey's back, and it's good. Turn a blind eye to how dangerous it might be, but it's back.
I have a feeling Chris may have had a little sarcasm moment there, but I am legitimately excited for hockey to be back because there's nothing I don't watch TV. I don't watch Netflix. I don't watch movies. I haven't watched anything in a year. I don't even know if my TV works anymore. I don't even think it's been plugged in for the last year. It's something to do. Yeah.
And something to talk about. We miss talking about things. I miss getting angry. There was nothing to get angry about before.
Chris, when's the last time you were on the podcast?
I've been on quite a bit lately, actually. I've been on too much, probably. So Chris is going to have to take a break so people get a little bit more positivity. But
I was going to say, now that we have one under our belt for this year, we can just keep the train going because, man, did that feel rough. But with that, I think we should wrap it up.
You know what? I think it wasn't as professional as we have been in the past, and it's also not as drunk and as ludicrous as it has been in the past, and that's why it feels a little uncomfortable. Is because it's like not off the rails, it's just not crisp, and so I know what you're saying, but I think
we'll be less responsible next time and throw this thing right off the rails.
That's right.
Style. Yeah, if we made it this far, they love us anyway, so.
Yeah. Though our 7 listeners love us.
All right. That was it. That's the whole thing. Tomorrow night, this is gonna get this is recorded the night before and it's gonna get posted the night before, and hopefully this will be something for you to listen to as you prep for the hockey game.
I wouldn't say it's gonna get posted the night before. It might get posted at like 3-4 in the morning.
The morning of.
Here's what we need to do. Let's see how terrible the podcast was and do what we used to do, and let's get people to tweet Centric with the code word to see how many people made it to the end of the episode.
Yeah. Ooh. Did you guys used to do that?
Yeah, we used to.
If you listened to this point of the podcast, tweet at us with code word Perfetti.
Yes.
Perfect Perfetti.
Perfect Perfetti.
Perfect Perfetti.
Yes.
Nice. All right.
You will win nothing.
No, not this time.
And use checkout code JetCentric for 20% off.
That's
we
right.
don't know where from. We don't have any website, but just do it. Just do it at Best Buy and say we sent you.
You can always use promo code JetCentric wherever you go.
Yeah. All right.
And if you listen to us or retweet the episode, I can guarantee that you'll end up in heaven.
Yeah, no, that's confirmed. I know that to be true.
It's true.
It's true. I've been there myself.
How is it?
Yeah, a little chilly.
Not all it's cracked up to be.
All right. Thanks, everybody. If you stuck around, much appreciated. And we will see you more during this.
Seriously? Go Jets, go. Seriously, then.
Like, genuinely.
Yeah. Just go.
What's wrong?
Seriously.
What's wrong?
Fucking win, then. If you're going to play, you might as well win.
Yeah. We'd be happy to be proven wrong about
all the episode.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.